Hey everybody, I wanted to share a little bit of GIS information and talk some about Hurricane Harvey, which dumped over 50 inches of rain in the Houston area, and clear up a few misconceptions about what is Barker Reservoir, what is the spillway, and how did that impact the communities around it. So just looking at the overall layout of Houston, in a general sense, the ocean's down here to the southeast. Everything up to the northwest is generally higher elevation. Barker Reservoir is somewhere on the order of 100 feet above sea level, and that's why all of the waterways in Houston flow from west to east, generally northwest to southeast. This includes in particular Buffalo Bayou, which becomes very large as it gets to the east of Houston and travels through really the main part of Houston as you go out to the west. And the two reservoirs made famous in a lot of the news coverage were the Addicks Reservoir and the Barker Reservoir, which is in George Bush Park. Both of these have control mechanisms that were designed by the Army Corps of Engineers in the 1940s to be able to plug up these reservoirs whenever floodwaters come through, and that'll let all of the water dissipate in Houston before letting them both release down into Buffalo Bayou and then have a controlled mechanism to prevent excess flooding in Houston. Just keeping in mind that here's the natural flow of Buffalo Bayou, we're going to focus on Barker Reservoir, which is directly west of Houston, about 20 miles. If you look up here at the actual floodgates, and right here we can look at the satellite imagery to see what a normal situation looks like in a summer day. I believe this was from 2017 prior to Harvey. Well, you can see that there is a floodgate mechanism here, and under normal circumstances there's just a small amount of water coming out, and this then goes underneath Highway 6, otherwise known as Addicks Howell Road, and into Buffalo Bayou. Well, this is what it looks like on a normal day. This is what it looked like on Wednesday, August 30th, after all the floodwater from Harvey had filled up the reservoir. So if you look at this, you can tell that water is literally filling up this entire massive reservoir. All of this brown area is water. So there's still some trees popping out here and there. And as you get back over here and see the inlet of Buffalo Bayou, you can also see many of the communities that were directly affected, including Canyon Gate. One of the misconceptions is that decisions made by the Army Corps of Engineers to release water out of the spillway directly resulted in flooding of the Cinco Ranch neighborhoods, which I don't believe is the case at all. And if you look at these maps and this imagery, I think it's pretty clear. The people that certainly should be upset about that water being released are these establishments, which maybe would have flooded, but certainly not as bad in these neighborhoods as getting thousands of cubic feet of water per second flowing out of the reservoir when you're already saturated with massive amounts of rain. As I noted, the water is flowing this way from left to right. You can see that pretty clearly by just the colors of the water. The white water here as it comes directly out of the dam. And if we go here south along the dam, you'll notice that the maintenance road on top of the dam was never anywhere near the water. And you can see this continues. This is a maintenance road used by the Army Corps of Engineers that maintain the dam. Never was it anywhere near the water, and the purpose of this dam is to keep water on the left side and the right side separate. The only part that was ever breached was the spillway. The uncontrolled releases never came into play, and if you follow this water around, which some people think got into Canyon Gate, you can see that really wasn't the case. Here is Westheimer Parkway, which obviously is completely underwater inside the park, but as you come out of the park, it is, for all intents and purposes, business as usual. Continuing to go down this spillway, it does indeed wrap around all the way over to the neighborhoods of Cinco Ranch, which are, well, actually, no, it doesn't. It stops right here. One other interesting point is you can see that this waterway is actually coming in and flowing the opposite direction, which means there's no way the water's traveling from right to left at this point, because you can see this higher sediment content water from this irrigation, probably from this construction site here, is coming down this way and then combining with the water in the spillway drainage ditch on the other side of the dam. It's also pretty apparent at this point that the water level inside the dam is much higher than the water level outside of the dam. This is a symmetrical dirt mound essentially, and you can tell that the water levels are quite different. So if you follow this around, then there's really no way this water impacted much of anything, because it just goes and essentially trickles out as it gets over here near Grand Parkway. So the water that is in the Canyon Gate neighborhood, it all came from within the reservoir. It's completely contained, and you can drive this road all the way up to the spillway, and you'll never encounter any water whatsoever. So hopefully that was a little bit of information that can help to understand what happened in the Cinco Ranch area. Clearly devastating. You can see schools such as Creech Elementary were completely underwater. You can tell by the cars in the parking lot there. We also had close calls at schools like Beck Junior High, which did not receive any flood damage inside, but clearly was underwater. And a lot of the neighborhoods in the area were just completely decimated by this unprecedented event.